Catherine Connolly.
Makesh the Rish agus a Rish aniu le an policy at Forbartha don na hOileáin fudar costa hOileáin an policy sin hOileáin an plan gníomhaíochta. I'm asking you specifically again, Minister, and I follow this up along with my colleagues. Where is the policy for the islands? It was promised over and over. It was to be published by the end of summer, by the end of this year. Where is it, please? Thank you.
Gura Mahagut, and thank you, Deputy Connolly. I know this is something that you're very committed to, and as you will be aware, the government is also committed to publishing a 10-year policy on island development with associated 3-year action plans. Indeed, the programme for government includes a commitment in this regard, and as Minister with responsibility for the islands, I am determined to ensure the policy is delivered. The Deputy will be aware that an extensive consultation process has been completed by my department, including meetings with island communities and relevant government departments and agencies. The feedback from this consultation process provided a valuable insight into the key priorities and indeed challenges and opportunities for our island communities. The government's ambitious plan for a national policy and action plan for the islands was set out in Chapter 10 of Our Rural Future, the Action Plan for Rural Development, published in 2021. The most recent meeting of the Interdepartmental Committee for the Islands, which is chaired by my department, was held on the 10th of October 2022. The initial draft document was shared with committee members for the feedback and observations, both in terms of their department's draft input and the overall document. Officials from my department have had further engagement with individual departments and agencies over the past few weeks. Individual meetings with the relevant local authorities in order to finalise the actions for inclusion in the plan, and that process has now been completed and the draft has been updated accordingly. I expect a copy of the draft document to be submitted to me before the end of the year with a view to its publication in 2023. And in fairness, Deputy, you have asked me about the islands policy a lot. There has been extensive consultation on it. We're nearly there on it. And as I said, my officials have been engaging with their counterparts on the draft document over the last number of weeks. And it's important that we get buy-in from other departments. And it's when I get the commitments, I can hold their toes to the fire to make sure they deliver. So we're nearly there. And as I said, it's a very important document that has waited for a long time.
Minister, I don't doubt your commitment, and I don't doubt that you're working very hard to see a policy produced, but we've heard it for a very long time. Back in 2019, I tabled a motion before the Dáil. Just the time isn't running, just to... I can't hear it come later. Yeah, I've gained anyway, but... just by comparison, Scotland, we see the population of the islands rising. We see a policy, we see it underpinned by legislation, and we see it underpinned by a proper resourcing. Here we have promises, Minister. I know that you're inheriting this, but we have promises. In the meantime, 70% of the Gaeltacht Islands, the population is made up by Gaeltacht, by Irish speakers. There's been a serious reduction in population over the time that various governments have simply ignored them. Now, over and over, the island communities have told us they don't want charity. They have shown us how to have a resilient life. What they want is a coordinated plan with proper resources. And indeed, I understand Deputy Curran has a question in relation to LEADER, which directly affects the policy in relation to the islands. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thank you. And can I just say there will be a final draft submitted to me by the end of the year. So we're very close to the end of the year, and I want that draft. And in terms of the next steps after that, I hope, if I'm still here, to take that draft to a Cabinet Committee early in the new year, and then to government after that. And the most important thing is that we have a strong policy at the end of this. And I think this will be the first island policy in 26 years. So it is important that we get it right. And, you know, in fairness, Deputy, I have shown my commitment to the islands. I was the first Minister for Social Protection for many, many years to increase the island allowance. And that was my first budget in the department. If you go up to Donegal, there's a long-running issue up there in terms of the roads on the islands. I worked with the island community and I worked with Donegal County Council, and we've got the investment there, and the roads have been transformed. And I was out on Aire before in the summertime, actually, at the AGM of Pobail in Aire. And, there's a positivity in the island community, and I really genuinely want to work with them. And I absolutely appreciate the urgency of getting this policy sorted and up and running.
Thank you, Minister. And without a doubt, there's a positivity on the islands, but what's lacking is a positivity on the part of the government, notwithstanding your commitment. So what I hear you're telling me is that you will have the draft plan. That draft plan in the last answer was there in October. It still remains a draft almost 3 months later. So I presume you haven't seen it yet. It hasn't landed on your desk, but you're given a commitment that it will be published, is it? No. So that's what I want clarified. When will the plan be published? When will the action plan be published? There has never been a policy for the islands. There have been interdepartmental committees, any amount of them, any amount of reports. When I tabled the motion, I had them all before me on the day. Now, I'm emphasising, I don't doubt your commitment, but we need action. We need a policy. In the meantime, decisions are being made in relation to the leader funding, which the island representatives are most unhappy about. They certainly weren't positive out in the AV room when they came up and made a presentation about 6 weeks ago. So I'll stick to my time, Minister.
Thank you, and Deputy, I'll address the issue around leader at a later question. But can I just say that there's no island are putting us under pressure to get this done, but what they are putting our pressure on is a policy document with actions that will deliver, and it'll make a difference to their lives, and that's what they're saying to us. Now, what I will say is that, just to say, I will get the draft submitted to me by the end of the year. The next steps is then I go through that, because I have to make sure I'm happy with it as well. There's a lot of work has gone into it, and the most important thing is that there's policies and there's actions to underpin how those are going to be delivered, and that's the most important part. And every department has to buy in and commit. And sometimes when you're, it's across government, so we have put a huge amount of work into doing that, to working with officials in other departments, and when they say they're going to do this in different areas, whether it's in housing, and I know that's a big issue on the island, there's education, there's health services, and I want them that they're very clear on what they have to do so we can hold them to account and make sure they deliver.